We welcome everybody that's here today, and we will go ahead and start with introductions. John, can you start on that side?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. I'm John Strand with the Fargo City Commission.
And Rebecca Knutson with the Fargo Board of Education.
Whitney Fear, Oglala Sioux Tribe.
Lenore King, Sistan Wahpeton Oyate.
Heather Keeler, Ihanktawan Nation in Shoshone.
Okay, and then we'd like to start with a prayer, so I will go ahead with this today. Dear Creator, please be with us today as we make some decisions and gather our people together and have your presence be with us here today. Thank you. All right, there's Sharon. And Chelsea.
Happy belated birthday to Chelsea while she's walking up.
Thank you, John. It's an amazing shirt today.
Yes.
Thank you.
His Hawaiian shirt.
My apologies. Right. My apologies. Lowered expectations.
Okay, and we're going to go ahead and approve the agenda and the minutes.
I move to approve.
A second.
Okay. And can you go?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes and the agenda pass. A presentation of the Native American Heritage Month. Do I have someone who is presenting for that? Did somebody have some notes on that? Okay. I don't see your name on there. Go ahead. Well, I'd like you to come, you can come on up over here and then tell me your names and stuff. Thank you.
Shall we repeat?
Yes.
All right, Lori West from the Fargo Public Library.
And Cassie Wisty with Cultural Diversity Resources.
I have a few handouts I'm just going to run over to you guys.
While you're running those over, Cassie, Cultural Diversity Resources with the Fargo Public Library?
Yes, it's a collaboration, and so we've been doing this. This will be our third year that we hold an event called the Native American Festival and Educational Series. And so it came about with a conversation had by our director and a few in the community about what are some ways that we can help promote and educate the community on the Native traditions and cultures and try to find a way to build respect and education and things like that. So, you know, this has been our third year a go at it. And of course, we've always really loved and felt blessed to have this collaboration with the Native American Commission in the past. And I think I should say that's the reason why we're here today.
Yes.
You know, with some of the series and the lineup of events that we have, we always want to make sure that it's something that you feel benefits the community. And of course, if there's anything that you feel passionate about or there's a project that you're already working on, is that something that we could also help bring forward or do in the community as well.
So I'll just mention what I handed out to you. One of the pages just lists the events of the past series we've done, so the 2017 event series and also the 2018 event series. We have tentatively held some dates at the Fargo Public Library. We have a great space over just across the way. We have a large community room. There's a kitchen as well. And so many of these events have been held there, along with at the Plains Art Museum, too. So we have some dates that we're holding, like I said, for 2019. And the other sheet will list some options that we have come up with. We've met with Laura Youngbird from Plains Art Museum as well, and there are a few of these events that probably will take place at the Plains Art Museum.
And I'm sorry, the Plains Art Museum has also been a collaborator and a huge supporter, so that's been great too. So these are, like she was saying, just some tentative individuals that we've already spoken to that would be willing to be a part of this event. And
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions, though, for other presenters, or like we mentioned, if there's a group, I know there's the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Task Force. Last year, we did have them do a panel discussion after a film we screened. And, you know, so if there are things that are meaningful to you and would like, you know, the space, and we will advertise with the library, we'll put it in our event listings, and then also we're a department of the City of Fargo, as you are with the City of Fargo as well. But we reach a large group of people. So we also would welcome, if someone wanted to be a liaison from the commission to come to our next meeting to give us some more ideas and help us work through some of the details, we would welcome that.
When is your next meeting?
Well, we haven't said it yet.
but we'd be flexible if there was
Sure,
a time that
yes.
worked for someone.
I think we would want to get something maybe next week, though, just to be truthful. November is practically around the corner at this point, so.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? John? Whitney? Chelsea?
Lori, first off, I just want to thank you for connecting with me and bringing the bookmobile, and or not the bookmobile, excuse me, but the ability to check out and do library cards at the community picnic this weekend. Yes. That's August 3rd, that's Saturday, from 11 to 4 at Oak Grove Park, Shelter 1. So the library will be there doing cards. Number one, thank you for that. Also, when we're talking about the Native American Art Festival and Education Series, is that in regards to the meeting that Laura Youngbird, myself, and the director of the, I believe it's the director, had last month regarding the availability of the community rooms? And I'm looking at the dates, and some of the dates are pretty much the same.
Yes, definitely. Okay. I don't think either of us were at that meeting, so yes, this would be the same.
Okay, and I know that the July 30th meeting was canceled regarding the Native American Festival, but we did agree that everybody is welcome from the commission, but I will be at the meetings. One thing that I do want to ask is that I love that it's an education series about missing and murdered Indigenous women. I love that you're talking about the significance and the history of the jingle dress, but specifically in November, what I'd really like to see from the entire community is accurate education on Native American history. And so if you could do a series that involves, or an event, if we could work together on an event for all, children of all races, cultural backgrounds, to educate appropriately on accurate Native American history. And then I believe we had talked about keeping the library open for October 12th for some type of collaboration with Indigenous Peoples Day happening in Moorhead. And a shout out to Heather Keeler for getting that passed on the 22nd of July in Moorhead. But my biggest thing is, especially in November, if we could focus on actual history and less on lecturing, and kind of bridge that gap between academia and community. So,
Certainly.
just thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea.
Thank you, Chelsea. Lenore?
No, I don't have any questions, but I've always attended, and it's always been a great event.
Okay, Heather?
Yep, I have some questions. So on this, it says these are the series from 2017. You did them in 2018 too? Was it similar to this?
2018
Oh, it's on the
listing, it
bottom.
kind of starts halfway down the page.
Okay, and what's your typical turnout?
So usually the Saturday, generally we've done kind of a Saturday kickoff day, and it's probably about 100 people total for that. And some of the evening events during the week could be 20, 25 people, 30 people.
So do you know what your barriers are that are holding maybe other people back from making those numbers bigger?
Not necessarily. I'm sure advertising also, there's so much going on in the community. I mean, sometimes the days are just you're booked over other events in the community. It's something we can certainly look at, and I don't know if you guys do more advertising, perhaps we can get it advertised on your Facebook page and different things like that. We have a small budget for marketing and things like that too, so.
I know.
That's what I was just thinking, like the collaboration and just getting the word out, because I, as a community member, didn't know about any of these things, and I feel like I'm pretty connected in areas. So, I mean, just the multiple places of making sure that the promotion is out there. And then I would agree with Chelsea if there's some sort of collaboration that we can do for Indigenous Peoples' Day, both on the Fargo and Moorhead side, you know, to help advertise some of these things that are going to be going on, at least in November. Because we get a pretty good turnout to those events, to our Indigenous Peoples' Day events.
And I know I really love your question about barriers. I know at Cultural Diversity Resources, you know, we work with a lot of diverse groups, and that's always a huge issue. And we're always trying to figure out, you know, what is it that is either keeping families from coming to either get help or some of the social events, or, you know, what are some of the issues they're having, you know, in the community? Is it transportation? Is it that we're not connecting with the right leaders? Is it that it needs to be done in a different language? You know, we're always trying to figure out what some of those things are. I know in the past, last year, I do believe we brought flyers and marketing to the powwow. We gave a big stack to Guy Fox. He had kind of been our liaison in the past. And I know, like, we've connected with Melody at Fargo Public Schools. I know Laura Youngbird has a network, and, you know, just really trying to tap into some of those leaders. So again, if you have any suggestions for us, we're always open to see what we can do about that.
That's great. I mean, those are good people. I always question like how we can increase our family and community engagement, and I think transportation tends to be a barrier. So just as long as times are ending in you know, being mindful of the bus schedule and, you know, where the closest buses are, that, you know, we're not creating an additional barrier to families. But I think this is great. I love that you guys are doing this in the community, and I am on board with helping in any way that you guys need.
Thank you, Heather. Well, thank you for coming.
Madam Chair, if I.
Sure, go right ahead, John.
I've had a thought occur to me to ask.
No problem.
Before you leave the podium. During Native American Heritage Month, if I recall, last year, that's when we began to collect the native flags, tribal flags. And they were kind of, and there was one missing, but they're now all there. And I think that was presented at Indigenous Peoples' Day at Agassiz School. We, to my knowledge, never have had the ceremony here in City Hall. And I think there is a presentation that should go with these tribal flags. The tribal flags are up on the third floor at this moment, but if I recall, last year we were talking about during Native American Heritage Month, having them prominently visible like down on the main level of City Hall. So we might just see if we can resurrect that, bring them down to the main level lobby for that month, and if there's a ceremony at City Hall or City Commission or something that it can be formally presented to the city, it might fit for this scheduling of events.
Okay. What I can do, John, is to make sure that each tribe knows, and then we let them know of a date, because I know some people, we were asking to have them down in the hall here during October 14th on that
works
Monday.
too.
And then also during November.
Okay, good.
So we can do that, and we can, like you said, collaborate to see if representatives from each tribe can make it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay, if there is no other questions, I don't have any questions for you right now, but thank you so much, Kathy and Lori, for coming and presenting.
Thank you.
And I hope if we can just have Chelsea, you're going to be kind of our connection there for right now.
Absolutely.
And if anyone else wants to be part of that, you're welcome to connect with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing on the agenda is a review of the budget. Nicole is going to provide us with a brief explanation of the city's budget timeline, a process that we can use for our events and activities. And so go ahead, Nicole.
Yes, I'm going to do two things. One, just to describe a little background narrative on how the city budget process works for those that might not be aware. So this time of year,
This is Nicole Crutchfield with the Planning Department for the City of Fargo.
thank you, Sharon. So this time of year is when we usually starts in April, is when our budget requests go forth to our budget committee. The budget committee consists of the mayor, vice mayor, and which is Commissioner Pepcorn, and our deputy mayor, I should say, and then no, let me back up, mixing up my committees. So the mayor, our finance director, and city administrator. And basically how it works is each of the departments present what they, operational changes or program changes or capital changes that they would like to see proposed for the next year. And so we have that meeting in April or so, and April, May, and they process all those requests, and then that works into a mayor's presentation. So last week, the mayor presented his 2020 proposal. I'll talk a little bit about that in the staff report. For what we asked for at the city planning department. And so this is, again, it's about 10 minutes of a meeting. John Strand comes to represent as well at those meetings. It's about a 10-20 minute meeting where it's a quick, just quick presentation. So we didn't really ask for any changes other than staff support, some more staff, and for that staff to be funded through a combination of HUD monies as well as what we would call a percentage of budgets for social service funds and other commissions. So for instance, each of the commissions are historically given a certain amount of money a year. Right now, as you know, with the Native American Commission, we have a $45,000 budget, and how that's been administrated over the years has been in different ways, but this last year was a big change where we didn't have to go through the social service funds. We could go just a direct line item budget. So that was a big change between 2018 and 2019. So we're excited about that. And so that kind of takes out the middleman as part of that process. So in any case, I'll talk a little bit more about the mayor's budget itself, but I wanted just to describe that timeline. So May, June is when we present the requests. July, August is when that budget would be received upon, and we're looking for end of August adoption by our city commissioners, and then that would give us the green light to know about like what we have to work with in January. So ideally this fall, we would start talking with you, we would know what the result is, and then this fall we would start talking about how does the Native American Commission want to work with the $45,000 for 2020. This year, with the executive committee, between my staff, me and my staff transitions, as well as significant transitions over the last year with Willard's retirement, et cetera, we're still transitioning from that. Hiring Tia. Tia is effectively today is her 1-year anniversary, I believe. And so, so we've had a ton of transition in the city of Fargo, and particularly with coordination with the Native American Commission. And so what I would propose is for as soon as we know what those dollar amounts are for 2020, we would start having our strategic planning discussions in kind of early fall, probably maybe past Native American Commission Month and our Native American Month and Indigenous Peoples Day. I know there's a lot of the fall activities, and we've worked that into your schedule. Proceeding forward for the rest of this year, in your packet is a 2019 budget for the rest of this year. When working with the executive committee, we adopted a budget that was kind of business as normal, I would say. So you would see the events like the powwow, the Woodlawn powwow, the sweat lodge operation, the marathon, community picnic. Those are all fairly typical costs that have been routine over the last several years. And so we don't have really much change, and we've been spending money kind of as requested or as planned activity. In talking with the executive committee this last couple weeks ago, we wanted to present to you today the proposed budget for the remainder of the year. And you may or may not be ready to take action on this today, and we'd be here to answer any questions. But as we look at, we do have next on your agenda item, the FM Crossroads sponsorship, as well as Indigenous Peoples Day, the New Year's Eve powwow, and some of that money for the New Year's Eve powwow can cross into 2020, but it's a good idea because of the calendar year. But basically the rules of the city operation, if that expense is expended or committed under the calendar year, say 2019, we reserve that space. That would be a 2019 item, and say maybe you pay the caterer in 2020, that would be a 2020 item. So that event transitions over the course of the calendar year. You'll see the bottom line total of $52,000, so a little bit over budget of the $45,000. However, in discussions with earlier in the year, when we decided to do this outreach for this consultant as we get towards the Native American Center program assistant, we had set aside about $6,000 for that. What I'd proposed to do to help rectify the budget is look to the City of Fargo planning budget. And in all reality, all this money comes from the same general funds resource. We would take that $6,000 and pull out of the City of Fargo planning department budget as a whole. We can afford that this year in the City Commission budget. And so I would propose we do that if that's something that you're agreeable with. And then as we, kind of fine tune that number, once we interview the consultants and understand what we have to work with for the remainder of the year, we can kind of negotiate that price more fluidly. This is also a place I wanted to bring up that we have a city purchase policy, and I'll send you a report on that. Basically, we have purchase thresholds, and I know it's really confusing because in the past we had the Native American Center, and many of these events came out of the center, and so the receipts and expenses approval was a different process back with the center than it is coming out of the funds, out of the straight City of Fargo funds. And so we have kind of worked through those challenges over the course of the year. We still have some challenges to overcome, but we're working on those with the executive committee. I'd be glad I don't want to spend the whole hour talking about what those policies are, so I'd be glad to either have some offline discussions or reports or direct questions. I know that came up in our retreat strategic planning, that there were some questions on how city funds work, and I'd be glad to help demystify all that and talk further. So the main thing for today is, do we feel comfortable with these line items moving forward? I know you still have a decision to make on the Crossroads event, so this might be a little premature, but just wanted to show you that context and the big picture of what we have left to work with for the course of 2019. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was just looking on the budget and there's nothing for the sweat lodge operation. Will there be, or did we spend some? There's no.
Yeah, that was a little, I just saw that, and maybe I can ask Catlin, do you have any updates on that or comments on that transition?
So in the latter half of last year, there weren't really any expenses coming out of the sweat lodge, and so just based on that, zero expense, but obviously it can be open to discussion too.
Yeah. So historically, we spent about, I would say, $4,000 to $5,000 on the sweat lodge. This year, just, I would say this is a loose budget this year since we had that transition. I would say this has more been based on requests. We've been plugging in the number, kind of like how we run a checking account. And so it's been a little less forethought and more about based on requests as they come in. But it would be safe to, I think, start to talk about what that budget is for this fall for the sweat lodge. I know there's a lot, I know Guy's not here today, but I know there's some changes or some improvements we want to make on the site. And then there's some long-range goals and short-range goals, and we probably could do a whole sweat lodge presentation as part of that as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anna. We'll go here. Lenore, you have any questions?
It looks good, and I was gonna question that too. No, it looks good to me.
Okay, Chelsea?
Yeah, in the event we have somebody applying for a sponsorship or money is given to kind of bolster a program, when that program isn't executed or that event doesn't happen, what is the city's policy for the returning of those funds?
That's a great question. As we don't really have a policy, and so we really, the sponsorship policy is probably something we need to talk about further as well. Right now, we should have some more direct conversation on how that fits in the city's policies. And I think I'm repeating myself, but yeah, how they fit in the city policies and make some improvements. So right now, we're going by word of mouth and your awareness if those events don't happen. We don't have an audit process per se, you know, especially on the low cost items where it's $250, $500, you know, those are probably don't rise to the occasion of an audit, but a larger expense, like some of the ones we had last year, it'd be worth, you know, kind of doing an internal audit to see about those costs.
Thank you.
Anything else? Whitney?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Rebecca?
No, thank you very much.
John?
Nothing at all.
Heather?
Yep. Is that why I go last?
No, I was just,
No,
I
I know.
usually try to go evenly. Everybody gets a chance to speak.
It's okay. Okay, so one is just an error on what something is called. It's actually the Woodlands
Okay,
instead of Woodlawn.
thank you.
But I guess, so I do have a couple questions. One, to kind of back what Chelsea said. I know that there's a program that's listed on here that I think we actually gave 2 disbursements to, that we got an email that said that due to lack of participation, they weren't
Okay.
proceeding. And so I just don't know if this amount spent includes the fact that we should maybe talk to them about, do they just hang on to that for next year? Is it something that we do try to gain back into our budget? I'm not sure.
Is that the native stand program?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did reach out to them to seek, I guess Chelsea brought that attention to us last week, and so we did reach out to them to find out more.
Okay, and we're just waiting to hear back on that? Okay, sounds
So
good.
we'll ask for those funds back or figure out what their plans are and then communicate that back to you.
Right, and I think if nothing else, we just note that that they maybe are saving the money for next year, and if they
Correct.
present again next year, we just know that we already approved that amount for them. So my other thing is more about the New Year's Eve powwow. So I know that you mentioned that if something happened this year, you know, it should be in this year's budget, which I agree. So I see our line item for this year's powwow, but then there's another line item for over $8,000 for the powwow that already took place. So is it in this year's? That's like double the amount in
Right, and
this
that's what we
year?
need to talk through that a little bit, yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm just, because those 2 numbers alone help the deficit that we're in.
Right.
And then I'll just save my next comments for when we look at the sponsorships, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Does anyone else have any comments? When I talked with Nicole, or excuse me, with Chelsea, or not Chelsea, what's it called? Catlin, about this budget, I seen what you're saying about the New Year's powwow, and I would like to get that, so it's just all in this year and not going over to the next year. Again, the other thing I was worried about is the sweat lodge operation, because I had seen nothing there, and I thought that we had some contracts that we had that were continuing, such as cleaning, like the porta potties and stuff, so that would have been part of our budget that we would have. That's just kind of some of the things I've seen on here, and I know that it's over the budget, and I'm happy to see that, only because I know that we're doing more with the community, and people like to make all the numbers fit into that little perfect, line to the penny, but you shouldn't try to me, you shouldn't try to make it look so good that you don't need anything. And I can see here that we do need more funds. So the budget is something we really need to talk about and get those conversations going so we know what we need for the next year to increase this. So, thank you, Nicole.
Can I ask one question? When are we gonna,
Sure.
when do we start to have those conversations between us? Is that like another almost strategic planning follow-up that we have to see where some of the ideas that we've all shared kind of fit into some of this?
That was one of the things, the budget was part of one of the strategic planning items. But then we've also, through the executive committee, started talking with Nicole and, or the city about our budget as well.
Yeah, and if I can answer your question, Heather, if I'm understanding it, I think what I'd like to do is, so when we had this, the strategy meeting in, was that May already? That at the library, that was one of the items that we didn't get to, based on, you know, that agenda was just probably too long to fit into. So what I would suggest is that we find a time where we can all meet and have a extended work time, or move up to the Meadowlark room where we have a dry erase board and have some more of those discussions and talk through. And so when there's a good time this fall, again, I know there's a lot of activities happening this fall, but that would be a great time so that by the time January hits, we're like ready to go and have all those questions answered. Yeah. If
And
that answers your question, Heather.
Yes, it does.
And I'd like to say too, usually at the strategic meeting, we also divide us all into committees, which wasn't done either.
Right.
Because we ran out of time. So that's another thing we talked about that probably,
Falls into this.
yeah, you don't know what's going on with the picnic because someone took the lead because there was no committee to do that. So that's kind of what we're doing right now, but we.
So is that something that we could start the conversation of seeing when we're all available for a meeting? Like, okay, because I know all of us our schedules fill up really fast.
What I'd like to ask is if Catlin can put out a doodle and kind of see some dates and times, and if anyone here has some things that won't work at all, maybe you can just let her know by email and, you know, put it there so we can find a date that might work for everybody, if that's all right, including like Nicole and anybody who needs to be there. And if there are no other questions, then we'll go on to the next item.
Madam Chair, do you need a motion to approve the budget today?
As it is, yes, we could do that today, like, go ahead, Nicole, did you have something?
Well, I was just going to say, if you wanted to take it under advisement today and decide on it next time, or other than the picnic and the sponsorship request, I don't think there's any huge expenses coming out in the near future. But I know you have a decision to make on the sponsorship
Right.
as well, so.
So what I'd like to do, John, is just wait until we get through this, and then maybe at the end, if we make some decisions with that, then we can approve it after that, okay? Is that okay? Okay. Okay. So the next thing is the sponsorship for the request from the FM Crossroads. And would you go ahead and read that, Lenore, just to talk about that?
Okay, the FM Crossroads, the amount requested is $10,000. It says, they're working hard to have an annual what is that? Faceted community enrichment campaign to assist our Native community in the following ways. Culture, you guys gotta help me here.
Cultural Center.
Cultural Center, powwow festival, educational programs, singing, dancing shows, sponsorships, scholarships, tutoring, language classes. We celebrate our accomplishment at the powwow October 5th and 6th. A world class singing of dancers. What is that next word?
Nope.
Event with festival on the concourse, sorry. Can't read his writing.
Writing's terrible.
That's Guy's
Apologize.
writing.
I apologize, I should have read it. It's kind of like doctor's writing.
Dr. Guy Fox.
Okay, well, we have a proposal here, and I had asked someone to be here to present for that. And I don't see anyone here at the time, so we'll just go and start with questions. Go ahead, Heather, if you have any questions about this sponsorship.
Okay, so first, I guess I'm just going to be honest, and I think that this amount is a lot compared to some of our other sponsorships that we do in the community. I think some of the things that they mentioned that they're doing, such as the Culture Center, educational programs, scholarships, and language classes, are things that there could be other really awesome grant opportunities to help support. I just think that we need to be mindful that there's a lot of needs in the community, that this is a significant amount of money out of our budget, that we should be mindful that there's some other avenues that we could participate, possibly even in our own scholarships, coming out of here, or different things. To be completely honest, I think that this is a really large amount, not that I don't support sponsoring it, but when we look at the other powwow that we sponsor, we only give $1,000 to, and I know that that's the request that was submitted. I just think we need to be mindful of not following into the habit of kind of just doing what we've always done, and really looking at the capacity of what they're saying that they're doing. I wish somebody was here to answer questions from their organization.
Okay. Anna, do you have any questions about that?
What she said.
Okay. Lenore?
No, I'm 100% for this powwow and the $10,000. We're building it up, so it's going to be bigger and bigger every year, and I'm all for it.
Chelsea?
What I'd like to see is a partnership agreement between the City of Fargo Native American Commission and any organization or group of people, whether they're LLCs or 501c3s or 501c4s, outlining what the expectations and requirements from both the NAC and our support and the organization that's applying for funding, regardless of the amount. And so for any amount, and in any partnership agreement, I'd like to see how that money is being spent and how it's actually benefiting and investing in the human capital and the long-term sustainable goals of the amount that funding is going towards, or the event, or what it's going towards across the board. And so my biggest question and concern, and I do wish that we had somebody who could answer this question, is how is this $10,000 being used for this one event to invest in the capital of either the people attending? How is it going to benefit them past that October 5th and 6th date? Because again, it is a lot of money. I'm fully in support of financing or giving support from the NAC. I just like to make sure that we talk about partnership agreements and MOUs and understanding that data sharing and information exchange and how our budget is going to invest in the human capital of our community, specifically our Indigenous community here. So that would be the only thing that I would have to say.
Thank you, Chelsea. Whitney?
I would echo what's been said. I enjoy going to that powwow myself, and it is a nice event, but I think $10,000 is a little steep for a contribution from us, just because it's, program should be, working towards sustainability and kind of gradually increasing the amount every year, maybe leading away from that. I echo what Heather Keeler said, that there might be some grant opportunities out there that are a little bit working more towards that sustainability rather than kind of going back to the commission every year. So I don't support this full amount of $10,000, just because I think there's other things in the community that we could, give a little bit to a bunch of different efforts that are ongoing, and that really could use support, such as whenever, right now we don't have at all a culturally accepting AA or NA group in this community for Native people, which is something I get asked about all the time because that's my wheelhouse. And I'm always disappointed to tell people every time that no, we really don't, because people can't, they can't do it. They run out of money to buy food or coffee for it because they're paying for it themselves. And then it kind of goes under. So we really lack some of those little interventions like that could be making a big difference. So like I said, I'm supportive of the powwow and where it's going. I think that the idea of the cultural center is awesome, and I really hope we see that happen one day, truly. But I just think this amount is too large.
Thank you. Rebecca?
What amount have we helped with before?
This amount is the same amount that we've been helping with each year that we've been participating in this. It's just been $10,000. We came up with that amount, and we just seen that type of event was something we were trying to bring awareness into this community for the Native culture, and being it was such a large program that we wanted to put on, we thought that this amount would be okay because it would be including so many people. And that's kind of, I believe, where it kind of started. Okay. So then that amount has just been approved each year to do that. Although I do know that even at that time, there's questions about, there's so much other need in our community for things. I know those things were questioned. Nobody really pushed at any of those. And originally this powwow began more through private people, but it was Native American people in the community, and using their sponsorships. And we just thought that was a good way to communicate with them, because we didn't have any planning in it or anything, but we wanted to help them bring that cultural piece to our community. So that's kind of how it began.
Okay. And is there the opportunity to wait to decide on this until the next month in case we could have someone here that would help answer our questions?
I might be able to answer a few questions.
Okay. After we
right now,
go
actually. One of the things that I had met with, Guy and Eric about was the festival part of things, that they're going to have a Native American art festival there as well this year. And part of, I'm imagining some of this money will be to pay the artists who come a stipend to get here, which is something that the Plains Art Museum does for the Native festival that they do, so that you can make sure that you have the artists. And because the space is so large, you have the opportunity to invite hundreds of Indigenous artists in the area to come and participate. So it's a big chunk of money to come up with to pay them. And another thing is that they were talking about not having a door cost, not charging anybody to get in this year. So I don't know if that's still something that they're talking about, or if they're talking about lowering it, but they're trying to raise the money up so that they can eliminate some of that, so we can get more people through the door. So I haven't met, with them in the last month or so, but that was something that we were working on. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think it is nice I'm sure, all the money might go into one pot, right, ultimately, but to kind of see where it might be earmarked. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate that information.
Thank you. John?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Anna, that's really good information. I've only been to this powwow once, and I think I'd like to see the whole community attend. The barrier of getting in the front door financially keeps a lot of people out.
Well, and I know that they were trying to have a partnership with the Plains Art Museum to kind of bring in those artists from the Native Juried Art Show that we do. So that would bring in a whole new amount of people that would go just for the Plains.
My sense of the powwow is it's incredibly valuable, but I'm I'm concerned about the space. I just go into when I was there the one time, it just seemed so vacuous and big and so few people relative to the space. And I guess the question I asked a year ago was, why don't we move it over to the Civic Center? And was that vetted? That's our building. And I know it's not the same size, but we're not paying this, it's quite a substantial rent, if I remember right, for the,
It's like 15,000.
it's huge. I mean, so did we look at that? Do you know, does anybody know, did we vet that? Because I know we had that discussion a year ago to explore that as an option, to rein in our costs and to partner more with the city. And maybe it's too late to have that discussion, but in my head, we could really pull in our belts and then open it up to the public and we partner and invite everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
But is it too late, do you know, to
I
see
think
if?
it's too late, yeah. The
Yes.
posters are out now for it at the Shields Arena and,
So somewhere we dropped the ball with us discussing this with the city for the
I don't
Civic
think we
Center.
dropped the ball.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
think
not
so.
our event, it's a
Right,
different, it's
so-
not our event.
No, it's not, but I reached out to our administration, not you folks, to see if we could have this discussion about that as a venue.
And I think it was presented to the FM Crossroads people.
And again, I don't go to those meetings, haven't been there for quite a while, so I don't know what their discussion was there about that at all.
Well, that's my only, I wished we would, if nothing else, I'd like to know why it isn't an option. You know, if it could save money or if it could help us pull in our, do a little more, get a little more bang for the buck. I'm in support of this cultural enhancement. And I'm not going to tell the Native American community what their highest priorities are.
Go ahead, Chelsea, you wanted to.
I have two things to say real quick. We do have Mr. Joe Williams here in the audience. He's been a resident and working in the community for over 10 years, and he's also the assistant director over at the the Plains Art Museum for the Native American Art Department. Sorry, Joe. Would you be able to give us a rough estimate of how much those stipends are going to cost overall to do the Jurate Arts Fest?
Good afternoon. So my understanding is.
Excuse me, could you just say your name again? And
Oh, yes. My name's Joe Williams. I'm the Associate Director of Native American Programs over at the Plains Art Museum. From my estimate, we are providing a $200 stipend for each artist booth that will be at this event, which will come to a total of $5,000, I believe, off the top of my head. So we'll be contributing that from our department to this as well.
can I just say something real quick, Chelsea? That's about 20-ish artists. We have space for like 100. So it's kind of dependent upon that, I think, for if we're gonna pay everyone. And like, I haven't been able to speak with Joe or Laura about this, but that is, because the Plains is such a small space, their artists, when they have them, there's about 20, 25. So that's their contribution. So it still would be a considerable amount of money to fill the area.
Absolutely.
I just want to say something about that space. You're talking about the Shields Arena
Yeah, the
space?
whole around.
Well, one of the things you have to remember is that they have many vendors. And in the
That's what
past
I'm
years, it's been so tight because of the vendors.
Yeah,
So you're talking about any of them, not
it's
just.
all together,
the other-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Real quick. Before you step down, Joe, you said that the Plains Art Museum is providing the $5,000 budget for the stipends, or is that in coordination with FMC?
That's for the stipends.
Okay,
From
so
us, yeah.
that is, the 5,000 is coming directly from Plains? and-
Yes.
Okay, so that FMC will be like the kind of okay. I'm not even gonna make assumptions or think about that. Joe, thank you so much for answering those questions. And my next thing that I'm gonna say is I'd like to make a motion to table this and move it to September 5th. And because all the questions that we have and we're asking are questions that FMC can answer for themselves. And I would make a motion that we table the sponsorship request from FM Crossroads to the September 5th meeting. And I'm asking so that we can have a representative here.
Okay, there is a motion to table this item until September meeting. Do I have a second?
I second.
Is there any discussion?
Would this put their event at risk? to not know if our financing commitment is there till a month before the event?
I don't know that because we don't have anybody to answer that question.
And we did let people, we did, I believe, Catlin, did you put out information or request that somebody from, okay, so they were aware of this meeting, but it's still a month in advance, so they have a month from that meeting point to do it.
I do know that they're not at their goal. They're like about 50,000 away from their goal right now, so.
So we could say that the appetite were not in our commission to do this. It could jeopardize their event at that late moment.
I'm sure it would change a lot of what they're doing, yes.
I think this is where it adds to the point that, okay, first of all, this is 1/4 of our annual budget that they're asking for. And that an event in the community, I don't think should be fully reliant on our contribution on whether or not it goes on. I mean, that's just, we should just be a sponsor and a support, not a determining factor if something can happen or not. And I just know that in all these things that they say they're doing, I am a huge grant nerd. And so that's one of the questions that I would love is that how many grants did they apply for within the state, in the region, and in the nation? Because there are huge cultural opportunities out there, and as a nonprofit, that's even like something greater. And so before we commit to an amount that could have been written out in a ton of grants over the year, it makes me uneasy that it is yay or nay on this decision, whether the event can happen or not. I think that's just too much of a relying on, where our contribution.
Yeah, I don't believe it's that, for them. I really don't believe it's that for them. I just don't know because no one's here to just say yes or no.
Right.
But no, we should not base it just on whether something can fail or not. Like you said, I think we've given ample amounts and I do think it's still a good thing for our community to have the powwow. Nothing to do with the amount. I just think that we really do need that, and I know that each year they've kind of changed some of their programs. I know on this Friday night, they're doing something different versus having the powwow because they've seen such a low number of people for the powwow itself. So they're just having it on Saturday and Sunday, but there's other events on Friday for that. So I know that's a difference for them too. So.
I have a question. While we still have questions for the individuals that were not so sure about the full 10,000, was there an amount, like another amount in mind? Even though we're talking about tabling it?
Where's the discussion? So does anyone have an amount they would like to save that they would be more comfortable giving the Crossroads Powwow? Go ahead, Chelsea.
I honestly, as far as the $10,000, the question isn't for me so much about the amount that's being spent, but how it's being spent and how it's benefiting the Indigenous community here. So regardless, and that's the biggest thing is there's no, even here it says all the things that they're doing, but nothing specifically geared towards that. So that's my thing is I don't have a problem with the amount as long as it's going to benefit the community in general, specifically for this year. That was my thoughts.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Go ahead, Heather.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna speak for Heather. I think that, I'd be comfortable with 5, like doing half right now and saying yes to 5 right now, and then, having somebody come answer our questions and then say, okay, we'll give you the other 5.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I guess I would second the comfortability of doing 5,000 with the intention that, moving forward, that, maybe part of it is that they just don't know about all the grant opportunities for next year. Obviously it's probably a little bit late right now, but, I think 5,000 is really doable. I just have a lot of questions in the difference in they're asking for this for the powwow specifically, and the items that are below, I feel like is more of the organization and the nonprofit itself. And so that's just where the clarification for me is a little bit tricky, but I do just want to make sure that I'm not coming across like I don't support this, because I absolutely do. I dance, my kid dances. This is something that's really important to me. It's just, I think we need to question the budget piece. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that I'm also in huge support of this in our community. I just don't want to get in the habit of saying yes to things without kind of talking about it a little bit further.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion?
We do have a motion on the table, Madam Chair.
So was that a motion, Anna?
No, you have a motion to table.
Right. So if there's no other discussion, we have a motion to hold this until September.
Just bear with me for a
Sure,
moment on
go ahead,
process. Technically, I don't know if you can even debate a motion to table, but it's good we talk it through. That table motion, though, will preclude you from making another motion
Right.
right now. If there's another motion that somebody wants to make, maybe you don't table it if you want to have another motion today.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes sense.
Take it off.
So,
Can I say one more thing?
go ahead.
I'm sorry,
No,
Sharon.
no, I'm not, this is what we're here for.
I love what Fargo Moorhead Crossroads has done, and specifically what Guy has done as far as a cultural connection in our community. He is one of our biggest resources here, and I appreciate him. But Guy has an entire board with the Fargo Moorhead Crossroads. They were notified about this meeting, and it is the largest sponsorship that we have. And so my question is, for any other community group that's asked for financing in whatever amount, we have required them to be here in person before we ask or we make a motion so that we can get these questions answered. And so I personally would like to see board members from Fargo Moorhead Crossroads here. I would love to support the powwow, but I'm not willing to vote for any financial assistance if somebody is not here to represent them, because I wouldn't do that for any other organization or individual.
Thank you. Okay, so you're saying I have to acknowledge the motion for the $5,000?
The motion on the table is to table this until the September
Right,
meeting.
and that's what it,
So you'd call for a vote on that.
yep, okay. So we already had a first and a second for that, I apologize. And I would like to, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're tabling it?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign? Nay. You can say nay if you want. Aye? You can say aye because I asked the question of all opposed. So it can be a or nay, whatever you like. So we have two? Okay. Thank you. So the majority is for yes, we will table this motion till the next meeting. Thank you for that. Any event updates? Now, one of them is the community picnic, and I know Chelsea and Lenore have been working really hard on that. So if someone can, either one of you want to speak to that?
I can start. I'm getting the food. I've got, we're ordering buns and hot dog buns and hamburger buns from Cashwise. So I will probably do most of the majority of the shopping on Friday and Saturday morning, because we're starting with very little, 2 roasters, because we have nothing else. But we'll work it all through and gather what we do have. I do have the gals from the Native American Ministry. They will be there Friday night at their church to help with the 2 hot dishes at the Native Commission that we make. And then they'll be there in the morning to help set up and get the food line going. And we got somebody grilling. And I will get the tables and chairs and the grill from Guy's Storage too before then. Otherwise, it's just gonna happen.
Okay, Chelsea?
Yeah, I'm really excited about Saturday, this coming Saturday, August 3rd, from 11 to 4 at Oak Grove Park. We're going to have the Fargo Public Library there doing their library cards. So if you don't have one, you can come get one and kind of visit with the library staff about what they're doing. The Harm Reduction Center will also be coming through their mobile outreach program. We'll be coming through to talk about what harm reduction actually is and what they do and what they provide there. We also have Alyssa Allery, who's a local Native artist. She'll be doing airbrush tattoos free of charge, thanks to the Native American Commission. And we will have Dakota Harmon, both are Indigenous women local to the area and business owners. And Dakota Harmon will be doing elder massage. So any elders coming through will be able to get a massage from Heather there at the event. Unfortunately, we had to ditch the dunk tank. I was really looking forward to it. There will be 2 inflatables. And yeah, I'm really excited. We've done a lot of advertising by word of mouth and by handing out flyers. So Sharon, getting those done and ready. The one thing that I would ask is that everybody here on the commission, and Catlin, I'm not sure if it's your responsibility or whose responsibility it is managing the Facebook page, but if we could get that event out there and publicized, it's 2 days before the event, so we want to make sure we get as many people as we can. There's a lot of people that are excited about it word of mouth wise, but I haven't seen it.
I invited you to it.
Okay, I got invited to it. So thank you, Catlin. You're amazing. I'm not a huge, social media person unless I have to be. But I'm really excited to see what happens. And if there's any volunteers out there, the only volunteers that we actually need are the ones to watch the bounce houses. So I need about 4 people. If not, I got some standbys. But I'd love to see a little bit more community involvement. And yeah, I'm excited. And Lenore, thank you so much for taking the food. I'm not a cook. And it's so much appreciated that you're able to do that. And you got everything in line, and I'm just really excited. So,
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Anna, Heather? I just want to also add to that is we're going to have a table there with Carrie from the census. We're looking for people to be on that census. We're organizing our group to help with trying to get more Native American people in this community to participate in that census. And so she will be there to help with that as well. So it's a good spot. Anything else? Do we have any public comment at all?
I have one thing.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I just want to add that Moorhead Indian Ed is doing their school supply giveaway Tuesday, August 27th from noon until 8 p.m. and then Thursday, August 29th from 8 a.m. to noon. You can always follow Moorhead Indian Education on Facebook, and we put a lot of that information out there, but I just want to make sure that that's public knowledge for anybody who's watching that does have students that are in the Moorhead School District.
Okay, great, thank you. And is that something we can put on that Facebook page too as well?
Yeah.
That they have that, so they have the dates and stuff to look at?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I have
Sure,
and maybe
John.
Heather knows this information, but the notion that, or the reality that our neighboring city, Moorhead and Grand Forks, have created now this year Indigenous Peoples Day, following the lead of the Fargo Native American Commission in the city of Fargo a few years back, and others in the country. I think that's just really significant. And I'm not sure how, and thank you for your work on that, and everybody, but I'm not sure, we should somehow acknowledge that. Whether we, as the Fargo Native American Commission, send a letter of acknowledgement or congratulations to the Moorhead City or to the Grand Forks City or to whomever, welcome them to joining us, and we can partner together going forward with these events in the future. But it's pretty significant, and it's historic
Yes, it is.
that they've gone on the record and have done this. So I'm not sure the best way to acknowledge that, but if we could find a way, it'd be fitting.
I think a letter could be first, and then I know that Chelsea has spoken to me a few times, and we were kind of waiting to see, Heather, what you guys might be planning, if it was something we could coordinate with our Indigenous Peoples Day, or if it was something we could do just to help support your plans that you would have. And I know we've had at least 2 meetings for the Indigenous Peoples Day, and I don't think very many people came to the one. So we had a set up plan. Catlin, do you remember we were trying to meet every other week? And so what's the next date?
Sorry. The meeting has not been set yet, just because we've been waiting to sort of sync up and see the outcome of Moorhead's event and if we want to do some collaboration. So right now it's on hold, and I'm looking forward to getting everyone connected.
So if you would like to do that, Heather, is have a meeting with us, or if you just want to let us know you're making your own plans, then we can try to work with that too.
Yeah, and I've stated this in some of the things that I've talked about, is that I understand that our community is so intertwined with each other. It's really exciting that it's been almost 2.5 years of work for me to get it to this place. And so I mean, ideally, the one thing that I would like to possibly host on the Moorhead side this year is the evening powwow and event. Most likely, we would do our own youth event on our side and partner with our colleges on our side during the day, because that's always been our struggle. You know, we can only fill one bus, which is a max of 56 kids to bus over here, that we could do something during the day. But I know we're going to start our own conversation on the Moorhead side, and then I would be the bridge coming to the Fargo Indigenous Peoples Day meeting. So once you have that date, just make sure you keep me in the loop, because I do want to make sure that we work really close together as just creating this awesome celebration in the whole community. So, and I appreciate everybody's support and work that has gone into this.
Okay. I have one question. I believe, did we reserve for that day at the Civic Center? Is that correct? And have we actually paid for that day?
No, it hasn't been paid for
Okay.
or reserved yet.
Okay, thank you. I just want to check on that.
Oh, you're talking about the powwow.
For the powwow part, yeah, if you want to hold it there, I just wanted to make sure that we hadn't paid for using the center this year yet at all, so. Okay, thank you. Yep. So let's find a date real quickly and get the plans started, because it is a bigger event and we really want to include everybody, as many people as we can, for the education piece that we like for it, and to acknowledge that even, you know, this, our sister city, kind of, they are doing the same thing, and I think it's really great. So, and to try to get more acknowledgement around the actual city about the Indigenous Peoples' Day, and get more things out there, they can see that, so.
I did have, can I have an unrelated announcement? At Fort Yates at the Prairie Knights Casino, August 26th through 30th, there's going to be an Indigenous breastfeeding counselor training for interested members of the community that might like to attend that training. I wanted to put it out there because there is a scholarship available for travel, meals, and lodging, but that's due by August 9th. So I can send the link to that event if that's okay to the page. I think it's very important to, Native American people have some of the highest rates of breastfeeding, actually, and I think that it's important to foster that, as it's shown to improve mental well-being and physical well-being of baby and mom. So if we could get some advocates out there in the community for that, that would be fantastic. And they would like a large turnout. It's a very good opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, that's something, if you can give the dates and that to Catlin, so she can put it on that page. That's, so we can really get use of that. I mean, we have a lot of things going on, and I think once we keep up with that page and put more things on there, that people will start to realize that that's a really good place to go to get information, so we can get that out there.
Sharon?
Sure.
I have a question regarding Pride on August 10th.
Yes.
So what will be happening at that table, and is there the need for people to sign up to work?
Okay,
or-
sure. That was first brought to me through Chelsea, and then we've already paid to be part of that. And all I know is that we have a table there, and I'm not sure who is going to be part of that. I know that I will be out of town on the 10th, so that I can't speak to who has volunteered. Anybody?
Yeah, there was a sign up.
So
Yeah, I missed
the,
out on that sign up, but
Oh, didn't we give that to
yep,
Catlin?
and the sign-up sheet is full, so I can send out the summary of who signed up for what shifts today here right after this meeting, but it's
And
looking good.
I do think there was some where people took more than one shift. So Rebecca, I think there's still an opportunity if you would like to sign up for an hour or something on there.
Okay. Yeah, I plan to be there, so I could sign
Okay.
up if,
Awesome.
if you could send that out, that would be great as a reminder.
You bet.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Chelsea.
I just wanted to say that the Pride Picnic was brought to my attention as far as the availability of, or the want for the NAC to be involved in it through Anna. Anna's the one who sent me all the information and really had a discussion. So I'm an emailer. We got it done, and then there will be, I believe Lenore's will be there at, to set up, and then I'll be there from 11 to 4, and then tear down. And there will be, all of the majority of the commissioners will stop through at some point during the day. We also have condoms, lubricants, and safe sex material from the MHA Nation that we can hand out at the table as well, along with information regarding our upcoming dates.
Okay,
So,
Thanks.
thank you. Anything else? Any other, yes, sir, onto the public comment? Okay, go ahead and come to the podium, please.
Joe, you are a patient man.
Joe Williams, Plains Art Museum. I'll keep this quick. I wanted to thank members of the commission. At the Plains, we're working on a facilities master plan, and a few of the members came to that conversation, and we're slowly moving forward with that. My intention within that facilities master plan is to create a Native American Arts Center within the museum that would be a space for not just the artists in the community, but community members to come and have meetings and conversations there and have it a shared space within the community. So we're moving forward with that, and I'll keep you updated as we do so. The other thing too is in our program, we maintain a Facebook page. And so whenever there's events that are going on that the commission, please email me, or I know I'm friends with some of you on Facebook, tag me in there, and then we'll promote that within our community as well. So, because we cover some folks that maybe other folks don't cover, and so we can just kind of spread the knowledge as best we can. So just please know that we're here to assist you as well in getting the word out in some of these events. So. And the last thing is we have a quarterly publication that we put out, and we have a deadline of tomorrow. And so things like the FM Crossroads powwow and the festival in, I think, November, we definitely would like to get the word out in our publication in time. So I'd like to connect with a few of you folks after this and just kind of exchange information so we can put some of that information into our publication. So. But that being said, though, if in the future, if we can sort of plan these things, and so it gives us a little bit of time to be able to put it properly in our publication, that would be appreciated as well. So, but that's it. That's all I have to say. So.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Joe about that? Oh, okay, thank you very much. And are there any other announcements? Does anyone have announcements? No? Okay, then we have the staff report. And the staff report, again, is to provide some update about the meetings on the number of the candidates, interviews, and the opportunity to begin in August. And that's for the Native American consultant. I know there was a job description sent out and people for applications to have this position. So if you want to speak to that, please.
Yeah, so we're excited that, so the position announcement has closed. We use hopefully you all received it and were able to send it out to colleagues. We received about a dozen applicants, and so we're excited about that. And so we are following the city's process right now, which includes, and I'll provide more updates for you at the executive committee meeting, but basically what we do at this point is with that request for qualifications, we had a list of criteria that we think had been fleshed out. We're going to put that on a rubric. We'll send that out to you as a guide. And then if you do have additional criteria or elements that you want us to consider, given that we're a little short of time here, I would ask that you email Catlin and we'll put this out in an email as well, but so you can just reply to it if you'd like. But if you have additional criteria that you would like us to put into the review process, let us know. I was going to bring to the executive committee too the suggestion that maybe there's a selection committee. So typically with our consultants,
when hiring and interviewing, there's a selection committee established. And so my thought there is if you want to share with Sharon your interest in being on a selection committee, and I'm guessing there's a high amount of interest, and we can talk about if it's the full board or how we want to do that. But we're looking to schedule those interviews and selection process by the end of the month, end of August. So that's basically a quick update. Is there any questions, or we'll provide more information via email?
Anyone have any questions for? Okay, yes, I think that's, what we'll do is we'll just get your information from the applicants and set a date.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, however we want to do the selection committee, just give me a call and we can put that together.
Yep.
That's how we want to do it.
And then lastly, just a quick update on strategic planning. So the mayor presented the budget, and we're excited that this budget is kind of one of the first times they were able to present like kind of talking points of the budget. And so he introduced 5 overarching goals. I won't read those, they're in your packet. But as terms of next steps, as staff, we were talking about, and we're going to send a survey to you. So we'll have an email announcement kind of summary. And we're going to send I know we probably surveyed you guys to death, but so we would like you to see, we've proposed staff 5 goals that we would like to focus on as part of our strategic planning efforts. And besides, the mission and vision statement, that's a given. We're, continue to work on that. But meanwhile, we'd also, in terms of the operations, 5 goals that we'd like you to consider. And so we kind of rank these as staff from 1 to 5 in terms of, kind of the role and capacity, your goals and event priorities, the budget and finance, the communications, and then bylaws and meeting processes. We would enjoy this opportunity to work with the commission as a whole through all of these items. And if you think there's other items you would add to the list, again, and maybe prioritize this, and then we can just kind of take them topic by topic and focus on that. And hopefully by the end of, our goal would be by the end of the year, we would have all this kind of summarized so we can kick off 2020, again, charged ahead. So we really do appreciate your patience as we go through the staff transitions as part of this, so.
Okay, sure, go ahead, Kelsey.
Where are we at with the mission and vision statement?
Yeah, we had intended to bring that to the executive committee meeting and then got a little sidetracked with the picnic. But we'll bring those up and we're close, I think,
Okay.
so.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for that? Okay, the next meeting will be September 5th, 2019, and motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.